Welcome to the Man Amongst Men podcast. Live a life of intentionality, adventure, and brotherhood. Take the inner journey and live out over your edge constantly. Here are your hosts, Dominic and Bryan.
Gentlemen, one of the key attributes of being a man amongst men is this concept of honoring women. And honoring women comes in many different shapes and forms, but in the context of this medium of the podcast, the way that Bryan and I intend to honor women is by giving you, our listeners, regular exposure to extraordinary women who are up to big things in this world. And one of the things that I've found as a coach to men is that men often seek guidance, mentorship, read books from, learn from mostly other men, and don't actively seek the expansion of their perspective by going out and looking at what amazing women are doing in this world and learning from them. I know that I've spoken about this a few times in my past where I've looked at my bookshelf at the end of a year and I've read 20 books and 19 of them were written by men. I looked at a period of my life where I'd only hired male coaches. When I decided to actively honor the women in my life, but quite honestly, expand my own perspective by hiring women coaches, by reading more books written by women, by turning to women who are leaders of mostly or all female communities that I wouldn't naturally have exposure to, the course of my life, the perspective in my life expanded exponentially. And as a result of that, I found that women were coming to me more because they trusted me, because they could see that I was an ambassador of women. They see that I could understand women, I could listen to women, I could speak the language in a way that was uncommon for most men. And Bryan has found the same thing. So this interview today is actually our first step into a series of conversations that we're going to be having with extraordinary women. And I am delighted to introduce you to a close personal friend of mine and an amazing powerhouse of a woman by the name of Gina DiNapoli. So Gina is one of the most sought after fitness instructors at Equinox. If you're not familiar with Equinox, it is one of the most exclusive high-end fitness lifestyle brands. I guess consider themselves to be a luxury lifestyle brand. I've been a member of Equinox in New York City here for 10 years. I pay $225 a month for the privilege to go because it is not just a workout facility, it is a community where I have a chance to meet people. And I had been taking group fitness classes for a decade before I discovered Gina DiNapoli at the very beginning of her classes that she was teaching. And as soon as I walked into that class, and I've been to probably about 50 or 60 different fitness instructors, group fitness classes. When I walked into Gina's class, I immediately knew that I was in the place of someone special. It was magic in the room. Her energy and what she'd created in that room was something different. And over the past year and a half, I've seen Gina go from a first-time fitness instructor, I believe she was only 23 or 24 when she started this class, how she created that spot for herself as a no-name who had no history in teaching group fitness, but went out and got it. And one of the most exclusive, hard to get positions in the entire industry in New York City, one of the most cutthroat businesses in the places in the world. She went in, got herself a position, then created her own class, which is called Jabs by Gina, that she'll go into in a few minutes here, that has become a supernova of success. And here's the most important thing. As someone who's attended 10 years of group fitness classes, I've gone alone. I work out in the class pretty much alone while there are other people around me, but I never connect with any of them, and then I leave alone. What Gina has done in her Jabs by Gina community is she has created a tribe, a rabid community of followers who, in many cases, will go to 5 of her classes a week and then will socialize outside of class, and it's become something more than just a workout. She has created a movement. And as a result of that, Equinox tapped her as one of 4 influencers across their entire network of trainers that they have across the country and all the major markets. They identified her in under 2 years of doing work there as someone that they've put out front as an ambassador and an influencer, as someone who's going to be creating a bigger future for the future of working out inside the Equinox family of fitness classes. So here we are. I couldn't be more excited to give you our very first woman on the Man Amongst Men podcast, Gina DiNapoli.
So I created Jabs by Gina to take all the different parts of fitness and group fitness and working out that, one, that I loved, and two, that actually impacted my body, and I put it into a class. It's got dance, but it also has hip moves, so like think jump lunges, squat jumps, etc. You can also, modify and not do the squat jump. You can just do squats, whatever. Anyhow, so you have...
Brian prefers squat jump.
Just saying. So you have dance, you have hip moves, and then of course it's called jabs, so we throw a bunch of punches. It's funny because in traditional boxing, you have your orthodox fighting stance and your southpaw, and we do throw punches in that fighting stance, but we also throw punches in our forward-facing stance, which we call a jabbing stance, and that's where you're facing the front of the room, and when you're doing hooks and elbows, you're really able to engage your obliques and other parts of your body. So people are always like, how do you get abs like that? Like, do you just do ab workouts every day? And my workouts incorporate your abs.
This is exactly what I've been asking myself. Keep going. I had no idea it was jabs that I needed for my abs. This is great.
It's doing full body movements that incorporate your core and have your core being the foundation of the movement. So again, I just basically took all the things that I loved about working out and put them into a class, the ones that I found effective. And I was sick of teaching the house music that my company had provided me. And I just don't like house music. So I was putting it into not like 2000s hip hop. Like we have right now, I'm trying to think Air Force Ones and Get Back by Ludacris, and we're really, we've Drop It Low, if you know, drop it low.
Yep.
We have all those songs and you can just get down. So it's a really fun class. What's I think different about it is the sense of community that's there, because you don't have to be a regular member to feel it. I teach over 300 people every single week.
And how big are the classes, Gina? How many people typically go to class?
The ones at Equinox can fit up to 45. The ones at Project are 22.
And Project is a spinoff from Equinox, right?
Yeah, it's an innovative space where they let instructors launch formats, so I launched Jabs at Project by Equinox.
That's right. I remember that.
Yes, and then when it took off, Equinox now adopted it, and it's in Project by Equinox and Equinox proper. But Equinox, you need a membership, and Project you don't. So it's really important that I keep being in both spaces, because at Project I teach 100 people a week who are not Equinox members, but it still allows me to reach them. Yeah.
This is what I was saying before, or I was trying to say this before. So when a class comes up online to save yourself a spot, usually comes up like 24 hours in advance. 26 hours. Yeah, 26 hours in advance. Gina posts this on her Instagram because do you have like a name for your followers? Because they're rabid.
The Jabbers.
Okay, yeah. So the Jabbers is like, hey, Jabbers, it's going online at this time. And they will literally set alarms on their phones to get in, because like if you're not there within the first 5 seconds, it's like a Beyoncé concert. It's selling out, And so one of the things that I think would be really interesting is to dive into the backstory, Gina, because 18 months ago, you weren't even a fitness instructor at Equinox, right? You were working at Salesforce as a delightfully average salesperson, as you would call yourself, right? You say, like one of the conversations that Gina has, she's like, yep, there's 80 people on the sales team. I'm at number 40 and I'm thrilled to be at number 40, right? And I was like, what happens if like you crush your sales quota for the month, in the first week of the year? She's like, what did you say?
Then I just stopped working.
Yeah, basically. And now that you're no longer working for Salesforce, we could say that.
So it was great. Like I had a good thing going for a while. So I quit my corporate job 2 months ago, but I was doing both for a while. I was teaching 6 days a week on top of working, 40 plus hours. Unless I hit quota, then I would work less. But yeah, I was pretty average of a salesperson. I was a good salesperson, but when I hit quota, I just put the pedal off the metal and would focus on jabs. So it always gave me that motivation to hit quota. Okay, if I do well at work, I can do more choreography, and people love my new choreo. So it would really motivate me to do well at my job.
Yep.
Yeah. To back way up, which I think is what you were asking. I mean, there was a point where I was not in fitness at all when I moved to New York City, and my family was a member of the YMCA, but like that was really my exposure to gym life, because I was a figure skater and we weren't really in the gym.
How long did you figure skate for?
12 years.
Yeah, through college. You were a teacher of
I was a
skating.
coach in college, but I wasn't really skating in college.
Okay.
And by I wasn't really, I was not skating in college.
But not really. I didn't skate at all.
Yeah. So I was coaching, it was going well, but I was not working out for myself. And when I moved to New York City, I fell immediately for the dollar slices and just the drinking here and everything. And it kind of hit a point where I was like, I need to take care of myself. I'm sitting at a desk all day. I'm feeling so sluggish. Like 3 p.m. would roll around and I was like, oh my God, I want to die. I had not been active in 4 years.
Gina, at that moment, what was it that made you change? They said enough's enough.
There was a moment, actually. There was like 2 moments. So one of them was my boss. He told me that I was in real estate before I was at Salesforce. And my real estate boss told me we were going to Vegas for a conference and that I was going to need to wear a bathing suit. And I don't know why he told me that, but he told me that. I feel like that was saying something.
Why do you think he said that?
I think he just wanted me to be aware that that's what Vegas was, that it wasn't just a conference, that it was like a big pool party, drinking, a big scene. I definitely interpret it as you're fat.
Wow.
So, and I did gain weight. I was busting out of my pants. Like I was busting out. Like in college, I was getting pretty thick towards the end. I'm dying. I was getting thick. And then in real world, I was getting like more thick.
Is thick with 2 C's? Is that how it's?
Like honestly 3 at this point.
Yeah, okay, that's thick.
Like so then anyhow, my coworker, I told her, I'm like, yo, girl, when we're going to go to Vegas and like we have to be in bathing suits. I should work out. So she took me to Equinox and I thought Equinox was completely whacked. I saw people with foam rollers and I was just like, what are they doing? So I just thought everyone was a hardo. And then she took me to a class. It was a bar class and we like got in trouble for talking. I didn't realize you couldn't talk in a class. Like mid-class I started having
This is the ultimate I was a terrible student story.
Totally.
Yeah.
This is great. I love
You
that.
go to one of Gina's classes, if there are people talking, you bring the hammer down now.
Oh my God, I used to take people's phone. God forbid their phone like pops out in the class.
Yeah.
I like would hide it.
Oh, yeah. You don't fuck with Gina in the class, man.
So I took this class with her and I was like, that was an interesting experience. And I realized that I needed somebody to actually look at my form. If I was going to start moving my body, I needed someone to make sure I was doing it properly. Because at the end of the day, like if you're trying to get fit, what's most important is preventing injury and making sure you're doing it in the right way. So I started working with a trainer and started going to group fitness classes and really learned how to move my body. And I ultimately ended up losing 15 pounds within a 3-month time period in a very safe and healthy way, working with the trainer and taking a variety of group classes and doing some workouts on my own. Like I used to go, I'm like obsessed with the step, like the little step with the 2 risers under it.
Yeah.
I used to go to the gym literally at 5:30 in the morning and put out the step and just freestyle on the step.
Okay.
Straight up freestyle, like throw punches up. I was into kickboxing, so I would do like punches and I would do like lunges around it and over it and on it and like all these different moves, and I would just completely freestyle for an hour on the step. I just like fell in freaking love with the thing. And if you asked me what I did that day, I probably like blacked out and couldn't even tell you. I just like loved it. Anyhow,
But those are probably the early stages of your formation of jabs.
these were, and I didn't know what was going on at the time, but I just knew that I loved this step.
Yeah.
It sounds weird.
A kinship.
Yeah, so that happened, and then I found the kickboxing class, and it was like game over. I found something that reminded me of skating because it had the element of choreography and working to the music and focusing on form. So I was not like thinking about, shit, what time is it? Like, how much longer? Like, I was not having those thoughts. I was like, am I bringing my hand back to my face on my double jab? Am I twisting my right side through on my cross? And it allowed me to like totally disconnect from the fact that like, oh, this is working out, it sucks. And I was just so focused on what I was doing. And when I was able to properly execute combinations, it just felt so good.
Yeah.
It felt like I was landing a skating jump all over again. And I didn't know I could find something like skating in my adult life. So love this. Went to the instructor and I was like, I want to teach. And he's just like, who are you?
This is Gina. How long have you been doing the classes at this point?
Probably like 3 months in. I'm just like, man, I'm like obsessed with this. And I told him I wanted to teach, and he was like, do you have any experience? I'm like, nah, I was a skating coach. I don't have group fitness experience. He's like, well, you need that. They said, like, go get a year of experience somewhere else. And then I just started literally pinging everyone at Equinox. I was like the head of the head of martial arts, the person who created the program that I was teaching. It was called
Did you know any of those people, or you just went out and
No,
saw
I like figured out who they were, and I just, like literally the people who would do the auditions. Like I would just email everyone at Equinox, and like I would send them like videos of me trying to get in front of them. And then finally, I guess I heard the word no probably like 4 times before someone was like, you know what? We are doing this competition coming up where members who would like to become instructors can try out to teach.
Yeah.
You have to audition with every other instructor, and you have to teach a class of all Equinox instructors where all the group fitness managers in New York City are going to sit in the perimeter of the room and watch you and judge you. Now that wouldn't scare me, but like at the time that was like frightening.
Of course.
This sounds terrifying.
Yeah. I'm like looking out there and I'm just teaching like all my idols, like all these fitness instructors who I've looked up to, who I like didn't know knew my name. And I'm just like auditioning in front of these people, you know, down the line.
So before you guys, because this is like a really pivotal moment for you.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm so impressed by was that you were told no. You were just ferocious and persistent about like, I'm going to find my way in. And had you not done that, then you would have not known about this American Idol-ish competition. So like you went out and you got it. Now you find yourself in this place and you step up in front of a room. Paint the picture for us. Like how long do you have? How many people are in the room and how are you feeling? Your audition?
I can't even tell you. I blacked out.
Really?
I don't even remember.
How did you prepare for it?
They made me get real boxing experience at multiple different boxing gyms with trainers around the city to make sure that my boxing form was good. And I also had to go through a couple of day-long trainings with the martial arts team at Equinox. And for part of it, I was in San Francisco for a month with my corporate job and day training that they were like, you cannot miss it. It was like April 7th and they were just like, you can't miss it. So when I was in San Francisco for a month, I took a red eye on a Friday night, got in Saturday, took the training, and then on Saturday night flew back out for the rest of the month of training.
Yes, this is how you roll.
You are all in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so that, like, that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just, like, didn't want to take no for an answer. And I feel like when they said to me, well, you're going to need to come to this training, and I was like, well, I'm in San Francisco. And they were like, then you can't do it. And then I was like, fine, I'll book a flight back. Like, you know, I was just like, fuck yeah, I'm going to get this. At the time, like, it was a lot of work. Like, I would go to work, and then I would have to go to the gym, wait for the classes to be done, which didn't end until, like, usually 8:30 p.m. in the studio. And then I would practice in the studio in front of nobody. I would literally put on a microphone and pretend there were people in the room and talk to a room of nobody and train usually, like, at night from, like, 8:30 to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Gina, I love this. Take us back to that room, the competition room. I know in my life, the pre-competition jitters, whether it's the beginning of a race or the beginning of a pitch competition or whatever it may be, I always get those butterflies. And I'm really curious with all the work that you did previous to this and, like, the clear want to win this thing.
Yeah.
Where were you at before you did it and blacked out?
Oh, God. I literally don't remember. The competition wasn't, like, a big deal. Yeah. I can't really talk too much about that.
So when you say it wasn't a big deal, it was just like it's something that you just don't reflect a lot upon because it happened and then
the process was more important to me than the actual audition itself. It was just months of, like, hours in the studio. Like, I have so many pictures of me, like, in the studio looking, like, beat up. You can just see my face, and I was like, just, like, wanted it so bad, but it was just, like, months of hours of, like, I'm doing all this work. I don't even know if this is gonna happen. What's more memorable to me is, like, being in the studio on, like, really, like, late nights and, like, being alone and being like, I don't even know if I'm doing this right. I would, like, record myself and listen to it back and be like, how could I say that better? Or, like, you know, you're just constantly critiquing yourself, which can get very exhausting, but it was obviously worth it.
But I think what's so cool about what you're saying is that in my mind, I had this image of you just being so confident and locked in and knowing that every ounce of your training was, like, precise and that it was the exact right step in order to get that thing. And what you're saying is it's absolutely not at all like that. It's like, I'm going up against competition I don't know who exists. I'm doing it in front of all of my idols, and I have no idea if I'm doing this the right way. And that was there with you throughout, and yet you still continued to do it. What caused you to continue to do it? Was it just the desire to get that role?
I just, like, knew it was going to happen. I had a vision for it. I was so sure that it would happen. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but I knew that if I wasn't going to take no for an answer on this. Like, I literally woke up every day and, like, saw myself in front of a room. I was like, this will happen. Yeah. So you visualized that. You saw the end.
Yeah. And that's what kept you going.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. Okay. You do the audition, you black out. When did you get the phone call?
After that, then there's, like, video rounds. Then I had to submit a 45-minute video. There was never a moment where I found out I was going to teach.
Okay.
It was just, like, constantly, like, here's the next step. Okay, you sent the 45-minute video. Now you need to do this. There was never a moment. I fell in love with the journey, not necessarily the end, like, phone call or anything.
Yeah. It's kind of like you hear about people who have spent their entire lives trying to win a tennis championship or a golf championship, and it's exciting when you hit the finish line, but the moment is so fleeting that if you're not in love with the process, then you're in for a lifetime of disappointments. And it sounds like you figured that out very quickly.
Yeah. And even now, like, I spend, like, hours in the gym doing my choreography, and those are the moments that I remember, and I love them. Like, whenever I'm in the gym and, like, I just can't think of something, I'm, like, listening to the same song 100 times over. Like, I always remind myself I'm very lucky to have this now as my job. So I never complain, even when the moments are hard and even when I feel like I'm, like, at a total, like, brain block.
Amazing. So now let's just fast forward. You have the position from Equinox. You're working full-time at Salesforce, part-time teaching classes at Equinox. And teaching some of the classes that Equinox has designed, like Firestarter and what was like Perfect Abs or something like that?
Yeah, something. There was a time period where I was working full time, teaching 3 Equinox formats and teaching my own jabs format.
Before you taught your jabs format, right? Because I remember like I started taking your classes before you would even, so that's how I took it. Because I don't take the jabs class because I'm not, I don't think I'm that coordinated, but like primarily most of your class, if not all of it, is women. Is that fair?
Yeah, most of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's open to anyone who wants to come.
Yeah. Yeah, right. At Project, I get mostly women, but at Equinox, usually there's like 2 to 3 guys per class.
That's right. Okay, cool. I'm curious about the next iteration because this is like really where you stepped up into this explosive growth, which was when you decided to design your own program called Jabs by Gina. And can you go back in time where you were like, I have this idea that I want to create my own concept, and how did you bring that to be?
Yeah, so I was on vacation and I was in France and took a boxing class there, and I thought it was just going to be a normal boxing class, but it ended up being like boxing hit. And I was like, what? This is so cool. And, Equinox made me take all these different boxing classes around the city. So I knew what was out there in New York City. And I was like, no one is doing this. And in this class in France, they had a bag that you were hitting. And I was like, what if instead of the bag, I had a step? Because I just like,
there comes a step. Back to your favorite tool.
So I was like, what if we just do shadow boxing on the step and incorporate hit movements, so it's not just like punches? Because the Equinox...
When you say hit movements, for people who don't know what that means?
Oh, yeah, like plyometrics. Okay, I should probably also explain that. Jump lunges, squats, lateral lunges, jacks.
These are all the things that I don't like.
Mountain climbers, burpees, yeah, all things. So I was like, this is really innovative what they're doing, and I could do something like this. And the format I was teaching, it was just like 6 punches. So I felt limited on what I could do from a choreography standpoint. Because it was just like, I can do it. How many times can I reformulate like a jab, cross, hook, cross, uppercut? And I was like, this will give me like such a wide range that I can tap into. And we can work more lower body and get the heart rate up and also do more like interval training with it.
Yep.
So those are all the different things that I've incorporated into jabs. And I can still do it to the beat of the music. Like you can do a burpee to the beat of the music.
Yep.
I mean, if you can't, like, I'll teach you how. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are always like, how am I going to get your choreography and be on the beat of the music? I'm like, this is literally my job. Like, I'm a professional at making sure that people in my class walk out successful and do get the choreography.
I remember you posted something on social media about this once where you were like, if you walk out as a student not knowing how to make the moves to the beat of the music, that is not your fault. It is the instructor's fault. Yeah. And so you take the responsibility to make sure. And this is one of the things that I notice that you do exceptionally well is no matter how many people are in the room, you hold the space for the entire room while also giving that individualized attention. And so people feel like I'm cared for. Because some of these moves, I remember when I took one of your jabs classes when it was at Equinox, or this was like maybe right at the beginning, I was completely embarrassed and nervous because like I've never taken a kickboxing class before, but you came over, gave me a few different instructions that allowed me to like get myself up to speed. And I felt like, okay, maybe I'm not such an imbecile.
That's the number one reason I don't do classes. Is because I've done a couple of them. I was doing my left arm when everybody else was on their right arm, and I was turned the wrong way, and I was upside. And I just felt like an idiot. I felt like I failed the class.
I'm an instructor, and I even go to take people's classes sometimes, and I can't pick up on things. So I know how that feels to be the person in the class that doesn't get it. And I hate that feeling. And it feels really unsuccessful. Like you should feel challenged, but not so challenged to the point where you're just like, I literally don't know how to do this. The move, like the instructor isn't even looking at me. So because I know how shitty that feels, like I will not let somebody walk out of my room and feel like that. If I'm teaching something new, I will stand in the far corner of a room where I can see everyone, even if it's a huge studio. And I will be like, we're doing this until every last person gets it. If you have it and you need to put your weights down because this is too many reps for you, it's fine. Put the weights down and just shadow box it because they hold like 3-pound weights. Yep. I'm like, but I'm not moving on until everyone gets it. If my regulars don't really like hate that and they're like, oh, it's like getting too easy. Like she has to go through it too many times. Like they can just not come, but they're going to still come and just work on their form. So,
I love the difference in Gina voice and then teacher.
You could hear it. You could hear it right there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was ready to get up and do the shadow boxing kick.
Oh my God. It is important that everybody gets it just because like I literally know that feeling and it's a horrible feeling when you're in a class and it's just like, it's literally like embarrassing if you don't get it. Yeah.
And then you save your people from that. So you come back from your trip, you've got this idea in mind, and then how do you go and make that a thing?
I started doing it in my cut classes, which you're like not really supposed to do, but I needed a place to test it out. So I would do what I was supposed to do for most of the class. And at the end, I'm like, hey guys, I want to just test out a song that I choreographed. I would do it and everyone's like, what? That was like so much fun. That was sick. Like I loved it. Like, or like they would be like, oh my God, like, my legs are sore from your one song yesterday. I started to realize like this could take off. Like I should just do a lot more of this. And so once I realized that people like that, I did know that I needed to maintain, follow the Equinox rules and do the cut properly.
Yep.
So I went and just took all my new choreography out of the cut, started doing cut proper, and then did jabs, which was all my more like innovative stuff on my own in Project by Equinox. And my cut members came to it. The only reason that they came to it and they loved it is because it was so different than the cut. So a lot of them were still doing both, but one of them was a kickboxing workout and the other one was a HIIT workout. So they were complementing with another one.
What was the process like of going to Equinox and saying, I have this new class I want to create?
They were actually very open to it because my cut class, as Dom said, was doing really well. It would book out in a second. So they were open to me trying it and they knew that I had a following. I did audition, but it just went really well. Like the concept was well thought out. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't just like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what was sticking. Like nobody was doing boxing HIIT the way that I was. So it makes it easy. And like I do have people who reach out, they're like, I want to create a new concept. And I'm like, what do you want to do? They're like, I don't know yet. You need to come in with an idea. If you want to go pitch your idea to a company, like you need to say like, this is my idea. This is who my customer is going to be. This is why it's going to be effective. And I told them, I was like, there's a lot of moves that I'm putting in here that like are actually effective on the body. I'm going to use weights. I'm going to use the step for added depth. And I like pitched them the science behind the concept as well. And they were very open to it.
This has all happened within like a 7-month period, something like that?
Yeah.
7 months. I do a lot of work inside of the male-dominated industries of financial services and insurance and healthcare and these kinds of places. And one of the themes in coaching a lot of women in those environments that keeps coming up is this perfectionism thing, where it's, I'm not going to ask for a promotion until I feel like I'm 100% ready to take on that promotion. I'm not going to ask for this new responsibility until I'm 100% ready for this new responsibility. And I look at how fast things have happened for you. Like within the first 3 months of you just going to a class, you're like, I'm going to teach here. And you go and ask someone like, how do I go and teach here? And then it's, okay, now you're teaching and it's like, I want to create my own thing. Have you ever struggled with this? Oh, I'm not ready yet. Or do you feel this energy and then there's like this certainty that follows that it's going to happen and then that's what drives you?
Yeah, I was certain this format's going to change people's bodies. I just knew it because I knew what I was putting into it. And people can just feel confidence around it. And within, I would say like 2 months, people were like, wait, I've been taking your classes for 7-8 months, haven't seen any changes. And like, I'm finally seeing my abs for the first time. And I'm like, yeah, because we're using 10-pound dumbbells, homie. Like, you know, like I added like the weights section to it. I was so confident that I was kind of just sitting back and waiting for people to feel the results.
Yeah. Was there ever a time that you struggled with your confidence or has it always been this way?
Every time I wanted to add a new time slot, I got a little nervous.
What does that mean?
At Project by Equinox, I was teaching 1 class a week, and then they're like, can we add 2? And I'm like, I don't know if 2's going to book out, but like, we'll try it. And then the 2 booked out, and then we're like, all right, let's add 3. And then it went up to 7. Okay. And like every time we had to add a class, I like me and my boss on the phone, I'm like, I don't know if people are going to like that time slot. So like just a little bit with like new time slots. But overall, no, everyone was bringing their friends too. And it's such a welcoming environment. Like the constant feedback I get from new people is like, I was nervous to come because I thought it was going to be culty, but like it was so welcoming. I jumped right in. Like the choreography was not that hard to pick up. And I'm like, I know, you just have to try it. So
are guys saying that too? Are they providing that feedback?
The guys who come to Equinox, I don't get many at Project, but the guys who come to Equinox always say like that's the hardest workout of my week because it's so much cardio they're not used to doing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you remember that.
I do.
Yeah.
I think this would be a great jumping off point to talk about the community aspect. I mean, this is one of the most extraordinary things that I've seen you do, Gina. It's at, again, like 10 years of going to Equinox classes. You come by yourself, you work out by yourself, and you leave by yourself. Having been to your classes, everyone knows each other. They're not just there for themselves, they're there for everyone else as well. I remember one of my first experiences with you coming to your very first class. You did something that like I hadn't seen really any instructor do. It was, if you are new to this class, after it's over, come and shake my hand and introduce yourself. And I was like, okay. So I did that. And then you would remember me the next time I came in and give like a little bit of a hey, what's up? Like an acknowledgement that I was back.
I'm like, oh, it's your 3rd class. Like I can remember who's 2nd, 3rd, 4th classes.
Or do you have like one of those?
I just have as an instructor, you need to be able to be good with names, to be honest. And I am. So that's been helpful for sure. But I also just like, I feel like I make connection with people in class. Like we make eye contact, even just those like 2 or 3 times in class, that makes me feel connected with you.
Yeah.
And then I remember you.
Where we'd love to go with this is to deconstruct how you've been so successful at building extraordinary community, like a rabid community. Because if you go on Gina's Instagram handle, it's Gina DiNapoli, EQX, right on Instagram. You will watch how the women in her class are just going ballistic for the work, pushing themselves to the limit, and how they're having so much fun and going beyond what they thought they could do. And I thought, as a little bit of a surprise for you, Gina, that I would reach out to a number of your most loyal classmates and followers and supporters and ask them, like, what is so special about what it is that
Wait, did you do that?
I did do that.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. So I talked to Rhea, Alana, Fran, and Allie Mitchell.
Oh, my God.
And Allie Mitchell was a superstar. I want to play one of hers where I asked about the community aspect and what made it so successful. Here's what Allie had to say.
The Jabs community is absolutely incredible. It's like nothing else I've ever experienced, especially not coming out of a group fitness class. I think in most classes you come out, you've been working out for an hour, and maybe you feel good afterwards, and that's more or less the end of it. But when you leave Jabs, you know that you were just in a room with people who support you and who are fighting for whether it's the same goal as you in that moment in that class, or they're fighting for something that's completely unrelated to class, but you support each other. I mean, we do this thing where anytime there's a new person in class, we clap for them. It was something that just started really organically. And I think that's because of the atmosphere that Gina encourages. She wants people to know that whether it's your first time in class or it's your 50th time in class, you are a jabber, and that means something. That means that you have this network of people around you that wants to see you succeed. So it's just grown to be this incredible, supportive, positive network of people that is always expanding.
How does that feel hearing that?
I'm like almost gonna cry right now. That's crazy. Thank you, Allie.
Yeah, and one of the things that she mentioned in here that I would be curious to dig into is she said something like, whether you're fighting for something in class or something outside of class, what do you think she's referring to when she says something outside of class?
I think I know what she means. So, a lot of these girls work out with me like 5 days a week. So you start to get to know each other and what their jobs are, etc. And when you see somebody punching really, really hard, let's say, like, they're not punching just to punch. Like, there's something in their life right now that they're like working through. You just see people like work so hard. And I think people in group fitness classes are very timid to make noises like, like when they're working out, you can make whatever noises you want to make in class. And it's just like this big open space where you can let it all out. Like, no, like, how sometimes you're in the gym and you hear someone making that noise and everyone looks at them like, oh my God.
Yeah.
In our class, like, you can make whatever noises you want. No one's going to look at you. No one's going to judge you. If anything, it just encourages more people who are struggling through the ab sequence to keep their feet up as well and push through and make whatever noises their body has to make. But really, I think where she's going with that, most people take fitness and they like use it as an escape from their life, and we use it as a way to like face reality.
Oh, say more about that.
The other day I went to a class, I will not say what studio, but the instructor goes, all right, let's get started so we can get this over with.
Ooh.
And I was like, wait, what?
Ooh.
Yeah, it just really turned me off. And like also you hear instructors say things like, forget about what's going on in your life right now. And I hate that. I literally, just like smacked this peanut butter spoon. I hate when people say like disassociate from your life. Because the second that workout ends, you're going to check your phone, you're going to see your boss's email.
Yep.
And go into your workday all stressed out.
Yep.
So it should be a way to feel like really powered and empowered and walk out of that room and be like, because I just went so hard at that and I was so successful there and I feel like I'm on top of the world, like I can conquer this day ahead of me.
Hell yeah. So you're not compartmentalizing or suppressing or ignoring what's going on or suspending what's going on. You're integrating what's going on. Do you talk about that openly, or is it just kind of like you do? Yeah,
like I'll have them, like I'll be like, I want you to right now, like in this ab sequence, like think about something that's in your way this week, and like think if you were to keep your feet up the rest of the interval, like it's not going to be in your way anymore. And like you say something like that, and like everyone's feet stay up in their Russian twists or whatever you're doing. Yeah. And I have to actively think about it as an instructor to make sure I'm constantly cueing in that direction, to make sure that I am letting them know, like, you can think about your life in this workout, and this can be a way for you to like mentally be able to conquer what's going on in your life.
God, that's so smart.
Right now, like what I'm feeling is workouts for me, whether they've been by myself or the few group classes I've taken, have been very much a compartmentalized situation. I don't bring my whole human into the gym. And what it sounds like you bring to this class is like, bring your whole human, bring the stuff that you're going through and work it out physically, work it out emotionally, work it out mentally. That's really attractive to me as a guy, as somebody that's never really done much of this group work before.
Yeah. I remember leaving yoga classes and seeing people leaving the class and like, back to reality. And it's kind of like, well, then what did you just do for the past hour? Maybe it kind of like took a little bit of an edge off, but then nothing else has changed in your existence. And what you're doing on a daily basis, because you're saying that some of these women come to you 5 days a week, that there's got to be a shift that's happening. And Alana had something really important to say about this as well.
The Jabs community is basically one of the best fitness communities that I've been able to find in the city. I was the kind of person that would go to classes and then immediately leave afterwards. I like wouldn't talk to anybody. And then I started going to the Cut, and Gina was already fostering a community there. And then we started going to Jabs, and it just grew and grew. And because Gina was able to foster her own community, it blew up to an amazing group of girls who we support each other and we work our butts off together and we all inspire each other. Like I look over in class and I see like Allie or Carly just working it out, and it makes me want to work that much harder. And then we also, we have a lot of fun. We laugh during class. All of us mess up, but there's still just this level of acceptance, that if you put the work in, we're all going to support each other and just be there. And it's really nice to be able to have that behind you in every class and then outside of class as well, because many of us supported each other outside of class too. And that has been amazing.
And that's the thing that happens. It's like the workout doesn't just end at the door. You're saying they're supporting each other outside of class. So like this has truly become an integrative process for you.
Yeah.
And your students.
Yeah. Like the banter, if you will, that I hear before class is like, oh, how was your interview and stuff like that. And they really have started to learn about each other's lives. And then I'll also look around, like in the other corner, I'll see people shaking hands. And it's good because I don't even facilitate anything anymore. Like in the beginning, I knew everyone, but nobody knew each other. But now it's just like really organically grown. There are a lot of people who still want to go to a group fitness class and talk to nobody. Yep. And I have women in my class who have told me like they were that kind of person who they never wanted a fitness community. They're like, all I wanted to do was go and work out, but like you've proven me wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not even just people who've wanted and tried to like that were seeking this out. There are people in this class who were like, I loved you and I loved your classes and I loved your workouts. And I was never really open to the idea of making friends in my workout classes, but like I've changed.
Yeah.
When I hear the word community, I'm wondering in this context, what's that mean? It sounds like there's something certainly that happens right before the class, during, maybe right after. What else makes this community a community?
Number one is that they know that I am difficult. Like it's going to be a tough workout, and that I'm not very pleasant, if you will. Like,
what do you mean by that?
During class, like I'm very much a stickler for form. Like I will restart a song if the form looks bad. I'll just pause it, stop, go through the moves or go through the form or whatever is wrong and restart. And I will like call out specific individuals in class. It can be scary, but like after class, I always get people thanking me, like, thank you for calling me out during abs. I needed that. Like people, the type of people who come to my class want that and like that, and they like that personal attention. But I think it's just the fact that everyone knows they're about to like go through hell together, and that they know that I am going to push them through. But at the end, we all come in the middle and we say, we are Jabs on 3. And that like I have the biggest smile on my face at that part. Like that they know that I care and that we all care about each other, and that like we're just going to put our heads down and like go through this together. And one thing I always say is like the person next to you is feeling that exact same burn. And it reminds you, if the person next to me is still jabbing at that speed, I can do it too. We're all feeling the same.
Thematically, of all the women that I reached out to, it was like they all appreciated how hard you push them beyond where they think they're capable of individually. So it's a combination of being able to listen to you to drive them to a higher place, but then also looking at one another and seeing how hard they're going for it, and it lifts them. And Fran was the one who said, in the end, you end up walking out feeling like a badass. No one wants to come and have a half-assed workout. They know that that's not possible in one of your classes, but they also know even on the days where they wake up and not looking great and not wearing any makeup. I think that was Fran who said something like that. Like going there and knowing I'm still going to be able to be pushed to my best self and leave feeling like a badass. And that's something special.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do things where I'm like, how many push-ups do you think you can do? And I'll hear some girls be like 5, and other ones would be like 25. And I'm like, do however many you think you can do. And then we'll wait for everyone to be done. I'm like, everyone do 5 more.
Yeah.
You know, things like that just like, you were like, I just proved, no offense, like I just proved everyone wrong. Like people only like think they can do so much, and you can like usually do more than you think you can do. And I'm the one that's there to pull that out of them.
This is where I think your philosophy around integrating your life and everything that matters versus setting it aside, it takes the workout and it makes it more than just a workout. So for example, like a few years ago when I was trying to do this 100 push-up challenge, like I'd never been able to do more than 50 push-ups in a row in my life. I wanted to do 100 in a row because I thought it was something I could possibly fail at. And I want to take on something that I could potentially fail at. And I had a coach at the time who was like, listen, if this is just about push-ups, you're actually not going to get to 100. If this is about you proving to yourself that you can set a goal that seems like a big, hairy, audacious goal, and that you're going to make it more than just a push-up thing. It's about how do you deal with pain? How do you deal with limiting beliefs? Who would care if they saw something like this? Could someone else be inspired by it? And then all of a sudden, like when I started to integrate all of those things, the training became much easier. Even when I was like in pain, I developed a new relationship with pain. And then that, just that one stupid exercise of doing 100 consecutive push-ups, that carried into how I built my business, how I decided to take risks on stages that I speak on. Through the way that you teach your class, you've given me something really tangible. It's like, don't leave that shit at the door. Bring it in and integrate it.
I'm assuming you were able to do the 100 push-ups, yeah?
I did 110.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not even surprised. Like, we're literally capable of so much more than we think we are. And you always hit that point of pain in a class where you're doing a certain movement and your body really starts to feel that burn. And we're so accustomed to pulling back at that point and stopping. What would happen if you held that for 10 more seconds? And everyone will hold it for 10 more seconds, even when they look like they were about to like rise up from their lunge, let's say.
Yep.
And where our brains feel that pain and immediately we back off. But that pain is actually in that zone where change is happening to our bodies. And that's the most important part to stick through. And so that's something like, I sound like a broken record when I say that in my classes. I definitely do, but they need to be constantly reminded. Like, you know how like sometimes you're working out and like you know what to do, but you like literally need a constant reminder of a certain thing. Like every single day, I say that. I'm like, when you feel that, that's good. That's good. We've been waiting the whole class to get to this moment right here, and I need you to stick this one out.
Yeah,
I've thought about personal training before, like getting a personal trainer. I've thought maybe I'll go see somebody that's doing a group class, and honestly, it's always felt something just physical to me. I'm like, well, I can push myself. I can do this. And what I'm gathering from you, Gina, is that this is a lot more than that. I'm starting to understand now, like, what the community is built on. It's not just built on better abs.
Right.
It's not just built on stronger legs, both which would be great for me.
What you'll get.
Right. But it's so much more than that. It's about what we're going through and how to push through. So
Like literally retraining the mind to not give up.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of your quirks.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So Gina will take a guillotine to someone's head who says they don't like Mondays.
Yeah, that's true.
You've got a hard on for Mondays. Man.
I will, like, if I hear that kind of talk, I don't care if it's a random stranger on the street, like, immediately I'll call them out.
what is it that just, like, comes up on you when you hear that?
Yeah.
It's just, like, do you hate your life? Like you'll hear people, I'm like, oh, how's your day going? Like, oh, it's Monday. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what if it was like Thursday? Would you be like, oh, it's Thursday? Like, you know, it's like such a weird thing. I don't know if it's just like cool to hate on Mondays. I feel like that's part of it.
Before you started this fitness journey,
yeah,
how did you feel about Mondays?
That's a very interesting question. You know what? You got me. I think before I started my journey, I also hated Mondays. I definitely had the Sunday scaries. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like anything that I was doing because I wasn't really like working out at that point. I was just like hating on my job. And I think I didn't start liking Mondays until I found something that I like to do in my life, which was to work out. But like I made that change. And anybody can do that. If you're waking up every day and you hate Mondays, to me that says you need to make a change. Whether it's find a new hobby or a new job or whatever it is, or a new apartment, I don't know, whatever it is that you hate, you have to find something that you like and that can make you excited to wake up in the morning.
I love this because one thing we talk about a lot on this podcast is finding those places in our life that are indicators for change. Indicators that say we're drifting, indicators that say that maybe life isn't quite what it should be for us and it can be better. So I love the fact that you hated Mondays at some point and now you're like, I like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Like I have nights where I can barely fall asleep because I'm so excited for the next day. Like every day feels like Christmas sometimes. Because there's so much to be grateful for.
Yeah.
I mean, you're responsible for creating a life for yourself. So like you should create the life that makes every night feel like Christmas morning.
Yeah.
And that makes every stress have a counter stress. Like today, like someone was like, oh, is like this part of your job stressful? And I was like, yes, it is. I have no complaints about my job. I love what I do. We all choose what we do. We've chosen our paths. And if we don't like them, we can choose to change our paths. So like, I just think complaints in general shouldn't be a thing.
So Gina, is opening up every single new peanut butter jar like a little moment of Christmas morning for you?
Yeah, actually. So this is really weird, but when I see the top of a newly opened peanut butter jar, it reminds me of a freshly paved skating rink, which is always something aesthetically pleasing to me. And then some peanut butter jars have oil on top.
Yeah.
Or if you get the crunchy kind, it's oil and crunch.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah, it's the good stuff, but it's not so much like a skating rink. But it's still exciting.
Talk to me about the oil on top. Personally, I hate the oil on top. It makes a mess. You got to cook it. Like, how do you deal with this?
I love it. With that, like with the first couple bites, I'll do a spoonful that's like half oil, half crunch, and half PB.
Oh, this sounds terrible.
I love the oil.
Gina, how many jars of peanut butter do you go through a week?
The reason that's hard to answer is because I have so many open at once. Like if you look in my apartment, you know what I'm saying? I think it's so weird when people have like one peanut butter jar.
Wait. What do you use the different peanut butters for?
Just eating.
Just eat them straight.
Just raw.
I'll have like macadamia nut, peanut butter proper, and then pistachio, and then I have usually a couple flavored ones from either Power Surge and Nuts and More. So it's like I have so many jars that I can't.
How many jars do you have open right now? If you were to estimate?
I have 4 right now,
okay.
which is like I think I usually have 4 to 5
okay.
open at once. That's why it's hard. And I switch it up. Like every given day, I dip into like 3 a day.
Do you put them in the refrigerator or these?
No, I think that's so weird when people do that. No, I don't.
And then how do you do double dip? Do you do like one spoon, put it in your mouth, and dip it back in?
I will say sometimes I like certain ones mixed together. Like yesterday, I was having sunflower butter with almond butter. I'm not a big almond butter girl, to be honest, but the one from Whole Foods I do like. So I was opening, like I had 2 open at once. I was going like spoon for spoon on the 2. That's why it's like literally so hard to measure because I have so many open at once. But I do have it every morning when I wake up and every night before I go to bed, and usually once throughout the day, if that's helpful.
Like you'll put down like a half a jar in a sitting, fair?
If that's going to be...
Like your meal. That'd be like your lunch.
Like if I'm like sometimes like I'm like, all right, that's gonna be my lunch today. Like whatever, I shouldn't do that. I should change that habit.
And this isn't a recommendation for this habit. I mean, you work out a lot. You teach.
I work out
100
all
classes
the
a week.
time. So it's like that. And you know what? That's what bothers me. So many people try and ask me what I eat. It's like what I eat is not what you should eat. If you're not teaching 10 fitness classes a week, you should not have my diet.
If you follow her Instagram stories, 100% true. Do not follow Gina's diet because you will be 700 pounds.
Yeah, you need to like I do like high intensity workouts 10 times a week. So it's just like it's different, and like that's what's hard. And that's what scares me. I know I'm getting hella off topic, but like that's what scares me about when people like look at influencers for advice. It's like you're looking at diet advice from someone who does completely different workouts than you and has a different body than you and different genetics than you and different structural build and all the above, stores fat differently, different blood type. Like there's so many differences, and it's like I always tell people, I'm like, I eat like probably a half jar of peanut butter a day, but like I'm not recommending that to anyone.
Yep. Nah, well.
I've also been doing it since high school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been like
got a lot of time built in underneath.
Yeah,
a lot of peanut butter underneath the belt. Yeah.
Okay, we found out that about a third of your Instagram followers, you get about 10,000 of them. A third of them are men. I would have thought it would actually been lower given the fact that like your classes are 100% women. Brian, I know you had some questions for Gina about how guys engage with her on the social medias.
Whether it's in a class at the gym or on social media, what is the reaction that either guys are having, or what's your feeling on how they interact with you individually?
The boys in class are scared of me.
Fair.
Yeah. And then the men who follow me on Instagram usually are just like, oh my God, like that inspired me to train harder, which is funny because I do train pretty hard and I train my jabbers very hard, so they're inspired. I do get a couple, I think you want to know, like, are guys like hitting on me? Like, not a ton, except for some randomly guys in like other countries. I don't know how they find me.
Where are you big in Armenia, or like what countries are?
It's like every day it's like a different country. Like there's not like one country. It's just like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, how did this guy find me?
From Pakistan found me.
Like, you never really know what's coming, but that's what's like fun about having so many followers. Like there are people who I like don't know, and it's just like then I get to like look on their page. I don't get like lost in the Instagram hole. If someone new messages me, I look at their page for like under 30 seconds just to like look at who I'm working with here. But I don't go too crazy crazy because I think Instagram can be like a very dangerous place to get.
What's your recommendation to a guy if they're looking for legitimate connection or information from you? What's the best way to get a hold of you, whether they're in New York or not?
Definitely through the contact box on my website. Like, I'm on my email all day long. I'm always working. Like, I don't have like hours. I'm just always on. And I check my email before I check my DMs or my texts.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like you get a lot of unsavory men reaching out in your DMs asking for weird shit.
Not really.
Yeah. Having witnessed your account and how you post and how you present yourself, like you wouldn't magnetize that. It just seems like the kind of men that you said that reach out to you are quite a bit inspired by your tips on productivity, on your daily routines, how you push yourself. And that's what you seem to attract more of.
Yeah, because I think everyone feels it. If you have a job and you're into fitness, which a lot of men have a job and are into fitness, it's very hard to balance the two. And, at one time I was working 2 full-time jobs. So I have tips for how to prioritize and be productive and be efficient with your time and with your workouts. And I think that men are, as you know, like a little bit less organized than women for the most part. And so they don't really know where to get that kind of information.
Yeah.
And I can provide that to them. So it's good that I'm able to have that audience as well, because I do feel like I actually connect with men on a lot of topics.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting to me. The fitness influencers that I've followed or that I know, they pretty much stick with fitness. But it sounds like you go a little bit beyond that.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like fitness is part of your life, so it has to be one big thing versus like a separate part of your life. Yeah.
As we're winding this down, I think it'd be really curious, or I think it'd be really cool to take a look towards the future. Mm-hmm. So much has happened for you so fast. You've brought so much joy and a lot of energy to so many people that have come to your classes. Like, what does the next year have in store for you?
Yeah, I really want to reach more people in other cities because I hear from them all the time and I literally know them. Like, I'll get a DM and I'm like, oh, it's like Caitlin from Boston. Hi, Caitlin. She's listening. And I actually know people in other cities who are just like Jabs fans. And so Equinox and I are planning what cities I'm going to tour in this year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to be going to other cities. I'm training other instructors here because, as you know, the classes are very sold out right now. And I think we can really grow the Jabs community if I had 2 or 3 more instructors. So every week, instead of teaching 300 people, we're teaching they're not going to be full time, but even if it's just 400, even if it's that extra 25%, that we can reach more people and then their friends, etc. So yeah, one would be cities, another would be instructors for more here, and another is to have some kind of digital presence where people can do the workouts online and feel like a jabber wherever they are.
That's cool. And beyond that, Gina, do you have bigger visions for beyond the next year? Like, where do you want to take all this?
Beyond the next year? I mean, I definitely want to run big meetups one day where there's like speakers on female empowerment and on, like, as you know, like topics that are close to my heart, which are like fitness, being able to help you conquer your life, like those kind of things. Like, I would want to host like big retreats and get these people who are in different cities together. It's funny, I don't have a big goal in mind outside of knowing I want to do that, because like I take things really one day at a time. So I'm like, right now I'm very focused on figuring out which cities I'm going to tour in and training my instructors. And like, if I think too far out, I think it'll trip me up from what's in front of me now and what's in my control now.
Yeah, I get that. Since you are such a leader of women, do you recognize that as you continue to build in popularity, and like this is going to be like a nationwide thing, potentially like a worldwide thing at some point, do you see yourself stepping into this more prominent role as a leader for women and being asked to speak on issues about what it means to be a powerful woman and a leader of communities of women as you continue to expand?
I think it'll happen, and I'd be very open to speaking on behalf of that, because I talk to hundreds of women a week. So I hear all their perspectives, like on the ground, and all their challenges and what they're facing and what fitness has done for them and for their lives. So I just feel like I touch so many people that I can speak on a wide range of people on those kinds of topics. I do actually want it to be a global thing. I do want to be able to incorporate more people. So there's a bunch of steps I need to basically put in place to make sure I can grow. Because right now I am only one person. And
totally.
I need to be more than a one-woman show. Right now I just feel like I'm like a ringleader, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a ringleader for all these people.
You said that you talk to so many women per week, right? And they tell you what's going on in their lives. Is there something that you see that's happening thematically that either is an unaddressed need for women in communities that you lead, there's a problem or a challenge or maybe something exciting that's standing out to you? Is there something that like boils up and you're like, that's something that they're asking for?
Yeah, within the last year, I've seen a big shift from girls coming to me being like, I want to be skinny, to like, I want to feel strong and I want to feel confident. And I just want my self-confidence. That's the biggest thing that I hear.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think has shifted that?
Honestly, I think a lot of women have reached the point where they're skinny, where that was their goal. They reached it through whatever ways that they reached that, whatever. And they realized they weren't confident in that skinny body. And they just want to feel strong and powerful and capable and good about themselves again. But I will tell a story from this morning. So one of my jabbers right after class, she looked at me and she was like, that was exactly what I needed. And then she put her hands on her knees and her head fell down. And I was like, I just thought she was like just tired. And she came up and she was like crying. And I was like, oh my God, like, are you okay? And she was like, I needed that so bad. Like, I haven't felt this strong in such a long time. She was like, I just started this new job and I'm not eating properly. I'm not sleeping properly. And she's like, I woke up at 3 a.m. last night and somehow there was a spot open in your class because there's like never spots open anymore. Yeah. She's like, somehow if I, whatever logged, there was a spot open and I like signed up and I just stayed up until your class because she woke up at 3 and my class was at 6:30. She's like, I just stayed up to make sure I wouldn't fall back asleep and miss it. I just came here and like, I feel so powerful. Like I've been waiting to finish a class and feel like this. And she was just like crying. That's not, hey, oh my God, I look at me in the mirror, look, I look skinny. Like I'm not hearing much of that anymore. I'm hearing like, oh my God, I feel capable.
Fuck yeah, that is a huge shift, man.
It sounds like yours is the class that brings that to reality.
People are not afraid to cry in my cool downs. People cry all the time, like in my cool downs, because like you just feel like you just like went through this whole thing and it's like over with all of a sudden. And then people like in class, they're like, they'll grunt, they'll make whatever noises they need to make. And it's just like this big open space where you can really let it out.
Thank you. I have a new fear now. My original fear was, one, I wouldn't get the class right. My second fear was actually that I would fail because I wasn't strong enough or in shape enough. And I have a new fear. I have a new fear that I'm going to be crying at the end of your class and I might need a lot of hugs. So
I cry. I probably come to tears like at least once a week in a cool down, just if it was like a really good class where everyone was really working together.
That's intimidating. For a guy, that's intimidating. And I want to go join your class for partially the fitness reasons and a lot of the emotional and mental reasons that you've brought to light through this. And I'm terrified.
Should be, man. I've taken her classes. You should be.
It's okay to be scared of things sometimes, though. Like, I like doing things that I'm scared of. Because usually, if you can think about anything you've ever done that you're scared of, like, you come out alive. And, like, you come out on top. Right now, like, what's something that you're scared of that you've done?
That I've accomplished?
Anything in life. What's something you were scared to do?
I started a business. That was scary for me.
Yeah. And where are you now with that?
I'm alive.
Exactly.
Doing what you love doing.
Doing what I love doing.
Yeah.
Thank you for the push, which I have a feeling you do in your classes quite often. You're very good at it. And I really respect your journey. Thank you so much for sharing that tonight.
Yeah. And Gina, I think we're going to have you on at another point in the future, like a year from now when you're global. The perspective that you just gave on like what the transition that women are going through that are coming to you, wanting to go from skinny to being powerful, to being capable and confident. It would be amazing if that journey started much younger. If that happened with girls versus someone needing to go through the whole journey of going to skinny first and then figuring out there was no pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. And I think it would be amazing. Like you're probably someone who's going to influence that quite a bit.
Yeah. That's definitely like a whole nother topic for itself, for sure.
Yeah.
That's like one of the most common things I hear. And I love how you said like there's no pot of gold at the end of it. That's such a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
One quick reflection, Dom, and this is personal to me, and I know a lot of other people that are listening to this, but your explanation of how you changed from real estate person and Salesforce person to now who you are after you found what your purpose is and what your passion is, man, like, and what you're putting into the world because of that. I just think back like how less rich this world would be if you were sitting at a desk selling Salesforce and you met your quota and that was it. So thank you for, even if it was scary at all, or even if it wasn't scary, going out and doing it and putting it into this world, because you're a fantastic example of what the world needs more of.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Man Amongst Men podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you want more access to tools and resources, and you want information on our upcoming live events and retreats, head on over to www.doinnerwork.com.